Hi! Prince recently released their third generation of the 03 Phantom 100X, and it's not like any of their previous Phantoms in this family of thin beam, controlled oriented frames. If you're already a fan of the Phantom line of Prince rackets, and you play with the 2020 version of the Phantom 100X, you may find this video interesting. If not, find out what makes this 2025 version stand out from the rest of the Phantom family. Alright, let's get out on the court. Let's first talk about the cosmetics of this frame. In fact, let's go back a year when I posted my review on the Phantom 107G. And do you remember when I made this comment? When this racket came out in this color scheme with the camouflage green. It is pretty cool looking, but I still wondered why they chose this color. But if you put it down on a court, if your court happens to be green, take a look at that. So that definitely blends in with the surface of the court, and hence the Phantom look, because it's like a ghost. So anyway, that's my theory. So if you work with Prince and that is correct, I'd love to hear from you. Or if it's another reason, please comment down below. Well, I did hear back from Prince, and here's the real cosmetic inspiration behind this update. When the original Phantom came out in 2017, they utilizes Prince's green 802C. I'm assuming that's a color code pertaining to that green color. But what they decided to do in this update was to go back to the green. The 2020 version was this gray color. So they went back to the green color in this collection in a more elevated lifestyle way. The asymmetrical blocking gives it a dynamic, modern look, and the tonal shading provides a more in-hand discovery and cosmetic depth. They also added a pop of orange as a nod to the original 03 Tour, and it opted for a matte finish for a premium touch. That was a cool cosmetic inspiration explanation. Alright, I'll get on the court and we'll get into the playtest. If you watch any of my other racket reviews, I always use a ball machine so I can hit the same exact shots to evaluate how the racket performs hitting different shots. So under ground strokes, I have forehand and backhand for depth and power, and then later on I'll be hitting some angle shots using topspin and slice. Then when I get into the volleys, similarly, I'll be hitting for depth and power and going for angle and touch shots. Then when I get to my serves, I'm basically going to be hitting my spin serves for accuracy, and I'll hit a few flat serves to see how fast I can hit it. You'll notice that I'm also using the Swinging Vision app to help edit my clips. The first shot in the skills challenge is forehand topspin, and I'm going for depth and power. And I did place a target deep in the backcourt area on the other side of the court. And you'll notice the two columns, I colored it blue for the 2020 version, and the 2025 is in the green. So I'm just going to refer to it as the blue and green, just to make it simpler. So with the blue racket, I felt like there was more dwell time, and as a result, it took more effort to hit the ball deep into that target area. And as for the green racket, it definitely had more pop, and it took less effort to get that ball deep and with power. So what I did is I ranked each time I hit the shots with both rackets, and I gave the number 1 ranking to the green racket and number 2 for the blue. In the end, what I'll do is I'll add up all these ranking points, and the one that has the lower number will be the eventual winner. You'll notice on my backhand, I do hit a flatter ball. Even though I do hit topspin, it's not as much as my forehand. So when I was using the blue racket, I did notice that I had to aim a little bit higher over the net to get the depth, because I was trying to hit that deep corner. As opposed to when I was using the green racket, I felt the more direct power, and I didn't have to make any adjustments, and the ball was going deep. So I did appreciate that. This next shot is a fun shot. I'm using my forehand to dip the ball with an angle in the alley before the service line. So you can see that I'm really trying to get that a lot of topspin on that ball. And between the two rackets, I felt like both I could easily dial into the feel and felt connected to both of them. So I gave them both a number 1 ranking. The final shot in the skills challenge for the ground strokes was a backhand slice. And it is an angled shot similarly to the forehand, but again, I am using slice. So this is more of a touch shot. When I picked up the blue racket, I did feel it had a plush feel, and I did like that because of the fact that it is a touch shot. Now, when I picked up the green racket, it was interesting. I still felt connected. It had a connected feel, but it was a little bit harsher, and I liked the softness and the plushness of the blue racket, so I gave that the #1 ranking. So if you tally up all the points for the ground strokes, you'll notice that the green racket has 5 and the blue has 6. Next, I'm hitting my volleys for depth and power. And both rackets felt great when I hit it in the sweet spot. But what I did notice with the blue racket, whenever I hit a little bit off center, it still felt comfortable. Whereas the green racket, any off center hit did cause some vibration. So I gave the blue racket the #1 ranking. For the second skills challenge, I'm hitting for angle and touch. So you can see I'm hitting a drop shot. And it was very similar to the backhand slice I did earlier on the ground strokes. On the blue racket, it had a softness that I felt just dialed in from the beginning. For the green one, I felt there was a connected softness. And so both rackets had their unique softness. So I'm going to call the blue one dialed in and the green one connected. And I gave them both a #1 ranking. So now if you tally up the score for the volleys, it's the blue one coming ahead, 2-3. The final skills challenge on my serves, and I was specifically working on accuracy using spin and aiming wide. So on the deuce court, I was hitting a slice, and on the ad court, a topspin serve. Now I'm going to talk about both of these serves at the same time because I thought they were similar. So with the blue racket, I felt like it had built-in dwell time and bending, and because of that, it had built-in spin and shape. So what I mean by that is I felt like the racket was actually bending, and to me, I can create more shape and spin. Whereas the green racket, it had more pop, so I felt like it had more built-in power. So you can see that I put same as above for the top spin because I felt it was the same as a slice. And because of that, I gave the blue racket the #1 ranking. Speaking about built-in power, I just felt like the green racket was just begging me to hit some flat ones. So I did, and I averaged serves in the 90s where the blue one was in the 80s. So I gave the green one the #1 ranking for power. That was a fun play test. Earlier I mentioned how this updated version is not like any of the previous models. If I line these up here and take a look at the 03 ports, do you notice anything different about this compared to the previous models? Well, there's only 6 03 port holes on this and 7 on the previous models. So that means this racket was made from a different mold. So let's take a look at some specs that'll reveal more things that makes this racket unique from the rest of the Phantom line. I'll also share a couple of rackets that are similar in specs in case you're using them and you want to give this racket a shot. Here are the frame specifications for the 2 rackets that I reviewed, and I strung them both with NG Pro V5 Plus Natural Gut 16 gauge at 50 pounds. If you haven't heard of these strings, I posted a video here. Now the specs were all based on a strung racket, and all of these were taken from the Tennis Warehouse website. So let's compare the specs of these 2 rackets, and we have 326 grams matching here. The stiffness, 60, and that's typical of a Phantom racket. They're in the low 60s. This Phantom came out at 66, and in the literature that I read, they were trying to firm up this particular model to bring it close to the original 03 Tour. So that made it stand out for sure. Swing weight were comparable, string pattern didn't change. Now the beam width, all the previous models has CTS, which is a constant taper system, where the tip of the frame is the thickest, and then it tapers down where the handle is about 16.5. So that's something that's always been constant with the previous Phantoms. Now with this one, you'll see that it's almost like a straight beam frame. It starts off at 19 as the lowest, and then it gets thicker and it stays at 20. And again, it has the 6 03 ports. So I think combined with the the beam width and the 603 portholes made this particular update have a little bit more built-in power, and that's why I felt it felt firmer during the playtest. Now let's take a look at some comparable rackets, and if you're playing with one of these two, I thought it would be interesting in case you want to try the 03 Phantom 100X. So, and these two are pretty current. The Wilson RF01 Pro came out last year, and the 2025 Babolat Pure Drive. So if you take a look at the static weight, this one comes out higher and this one's lower. So this one's right in between. The stiffness, 67, 69, this is in the ballpark, so this is close. The swing weight, again, this one falls in between these two rackets. The string pattern on both of these rackets are 16 by 19. The beam width are different for these two rackets. You can see that it's the thickest at the tip, and then it does taper down towards the handle. And on the Pure Drive, they have a dual tapered type of beam where it's thin at the top, gets thick, and then thin at the handle. So if you compare these three rackets, I think they would make an interesting playtest side by side. Or if you're playing with the Wilson RF01 Pro or the 2025 Babolat Pure Drive, why not give the 03 Phantom 100X a try and see for yourself? Now that I've discussed what makes this updated 03 Phantom 100X unique and worth trying out, here are 3 ways you can get one in your hands. 1, if you live in Hawaii and want to try any Prince racket, contact me about my custom demo program and email me at amstringing@gmail.com. If you're in the mainland US and need assistance locating a local Prince dealer, I'm here to help. Just email me your city and state. And finally, if you live far from a local Prince dealer, check out Tennis Warehouse demo program. I have the link down below. With all this excitement about the playtest and review, I forgot to mention the eventual winner of my skills challenge. So after tallying the score, it was the 2020 version that came out ahead 12-13. Now I really was hoping that I would love this 2025 updated version. And although I don't love this racket, I know some of you will. Thanks for watching. Play with Prince and let your strings play. Do you own a tennis shop and are you interested in carrying Prince products? Go to www.tennisource.com and find out how you can become a Prince dealer. Aloha!